Hey guys, professoring has been tough today. So here we are. We're going to talk about organization in the arts, which is kind of confusing, right? Because we talk about arts organizations, and then we're going to talk about organization in the arts, which is super confusing, right? It's two different definitions of organizations. We're going to organize your organization. No, nobody's great. Cool. Here we go. Okay, so as we talk about organization in the arts, I just want to refer you to the very first thing in your chapter in your book. It says, the art of organization is not to create organizations, but to multiply our effectiveness. So that's the difference, right? We talked about what the definition of an organization is earlier in the book. You guys remember? I'm going to look it up, see who can get there first. Organization. I'm real tired. It's like way after midnight, so you guys have probably already found it and read it to yourselves, and you're like, "Ah, Professor Hainley, can you catch up, please?" Ooh. All right, so an organization has been defined as a collection of people working together in a division of labor to achieve a common purpose. A collection of people working together in a division of labor to achieve a common purpose. That is an organization. And then within an organization, you have organization, right? So an organization is set up in a way that is organized, right? So it's not just that like everybody who's working together just like all go in and they all just willy-nilly do what they want and they, right? That's not how it works, right? So today we're going to talk about the organization of an organization. I'm going to say that as much as possible just so that the word organization stops having meaning for you. Actually, that would be bad because we're talking about organization. So you should probably should probably not let that word organization lose its meaning for you within this lecture. Did I mention we're talking about organization? Because we are. It's right there in the title. All right, sorry, it's late. I'm tired and punchy. Here we go. All right, so in order to effectively carry out the mission and goals of an arts organization, the alignment of the people, plans, budgets, and processes needs to be carefully considered by the arts manager. Organizational structure should be stable but not rigid. So it should be stable but not rigid. Formal and informal systems of organization can develop inside an organization, and the cumulative impact of people and projects interacting helps produce an overall social system called an organizational culture. So this chapter focuses on organizing and organizational design in the arts, organizational charts and the story to tell, structure and strategy, and building positive organizational cultures. This is so important nowadays. Building positive organizational culture. That's how you keep employees, right? People who don't like where they work, stop working there. So building positive organizational cultures is a super important thing to do. My cat has joined us. She's screaming. I don't know if you can hear her. 1 second, I'm gonna get her. All right, so the cat's here now. I don't know if you can see her. She has a broken leg, so we have to be nice to her. You want to say hi? Not really. I'm a cat. All right. So organizing and organizational design in the arts, right? So what are the benefits of organizing? You want to make clear who is supposed to do what. You want to establish who is in charge of whom, right? Defining the appropriate channels of communication. So what's the right way to communicate? What's the right way to make sure everything is communicated effectively? You want to help to clarify where resources need to be applied to meet objectives. So in the previous chapter, we talked about planning, right? We talked about planning, we talked about knowing your resources and assigning actions. And if you don't have an organizational design, an effective organizational design, then you won't be able to clarify, where resources need to be applied in order to meet your objectives from your plan, right? So the process of presenting performances or exhibitions for the public at a specific date, time, and place requires detailed coordination across multiple work areas in an arts organization. And each art form over time has developed processes that best align with the kind of work being done and preparing the work that will be shared with the public. That's just like a really long paragraph that says like every type of art has developed over time its own way of doing things that works best for that art form, right? But there are some things that are similar, right? There are some things that are consistent across all art forms. So detailed coordination, right? Lots of work areas. So there's some things that are the same. Okay. So arts organizations, we've talked about this before, right, are open systems, and the organization design reflects external and internal processes and influences, right? So your input, of course, is your audience or your members or your patrons or your donors or your clients. Your organization transforms from that input, right? And in this example, we're adding a touring department. So if we're adding a touring department, we have to think about what the structure of that department is, right? Who's in charge? Who's the manager? You have those 3 levels of management. Who's the top level management, middle management, and who's the line manager, right? So you start with the production manager, who you may already have. And then you add the tour manager, who's in charge of the stage manager and the technical director. And those people might also be in charge of, other people, depending on the complexity of the situation. So then your output are the productions, right? And special events. So this kind of gives you opportunity for talent to perform. Projects allows for expanded educational outreach, attracts new donors, right? These are the positive reasons why you would transform your input and change your organization. And you would do that through what? Planning, right? All of this you would put together in your plan from the previous chapter. She's a scene stealer. All right, so, feedback loop. We talked about this before, right? You always want to be listening to people. You always want to be changing. You never want to be stagnant, right? So in this example, feedback from the audience suggests that a tour program would be popular in schools, and the new program is added the next year for school tours. The tour department adds staff the year after that. I panicked for some reason. All right. So the addition of a touring program to a hypothetical arts organization is reflected in changes to the organizational chart. Changes are also reflected in staff reporting and supervisory capabilities, or capacities, sorry. So an organizational chart, that's what we're going to talk about next. Organizational structure is the system of tasks, reporting relationships, and communication linkages. An effective organizational chart will help you grasp the formal structure of an organization. The key elements of an organization chart should include A, the division of work, B, the supervisory relationship, C, lines of communication, D, subunits, departments, or work groups, and E, the levels of management. So really all that means is that however you put your organizational chart together, you should be able to look at it and understand how the work is divided, who's in charge of who you talk to, and how information gets from here to there, who works together, and who's equal to each other. That's it. So it can look, we've lost our cat. It can look however you want it to look, as long as you can see all of those things. So it's a visual representation of the management of the organization. I'm going to make this big just because the cat is gone. All right, so the elements of an organizational chart. Here we go, right? Division of work, development and marketing, curating, operations. So this is development. Everyone here in this section does development. Everyone here is a curator of some sort, right? Of art or research. Right? This is art and research. This is curation of education and exhibits, right? So these people are in charge of researching and of art. These people are in charge of education and exhibits. Programs and events. These people are in charge of that, right? And this is the director of operations. This is the person that keeps things going day to day, right? All of these people are day to day, right? Supervisory relationships are the vertical lines, right? So the director of programs and events is the supervisor for the associate director of programs and events and the programs and events assistant, right? And this is more complicated, right? So the director of operations supervises the events manager and the retail operations manager and the chief financial officer and the director of facility and security services. Wow, I was using mouse on the wrong screen this whole time. So this is where we talk, this is a division of work, right? This is a division of work. This is a division of work. This is a division of work, right? These are the different job responsibilities, or there's 5 here. Supervisory relationships are these lines, right? The vertical lines. So this person supervises all of these people. This person supervises all of these people because of the vertical lines. This one, he supervises here. That's it, right? But then the director of facility and security services supervises the security guards and the something maintenance and custodial services manager of. But this manager supervises the custodial maintenance person, right? Retail operations manager supervises all of these people. Chief financial officer supervises these people. Lines of communication are the same, right? You just follow the line, right? So this person to this person. Yeah. This person talks to this person, talks to this person, talks to this person. That's how it works, right? It's just that simple. And these people you see are in charge of all of this. This person reports only to the president and CEO. That is an example of an organizational chart. Here's another one. Here's some more. So subunits, departments, or work groups. So these are subunits, right? So museum shop and visitor services, security guards, and custodial services. These are all subgroups that work together. So this is not very well depicted in this chart. So is there a way to do that, maybe with color or with grouping, right? Those are subunits, departments, or work groups. Next thing is the levels of management. So red is going to be your upper level management positions, your directors, right? People who are in charge of thinking long term, right? This is a flat organizational structure. It means this is a flat organizational structure. Blue is middle management. These are all middle management, right? So executive assistant could be a staff support position or middle management. Lower level management and staff support are right here, down here at the bottom, right? So these are the levels of management on your organizational chart. There are informal organizational structures. So these exist in all organizations and often are the truer picture of how people work together. For example, in the National Museum of Wildlife Art, this is the same chart we were looking at a moment ago. The marketing and development staff often work directly with other departments and do not go through the chain of command, i.e. through development and marketing, right? So when we're talking about communications, right, this structure says that this person only talks to this person and doesn't talk to anyone over here, right? Well, that seems inefficient, right? So then this person talks to this person, and then they talk to this person, and then this person comes down here. So you get informal communications, right? And that's what happens here, right? It's entirely possible that the assistant director of development and marketing coordinator will establish their own communication and working network with the organization in order to do their jobs. So you will, this is formal communication, formal communication. When you want formal change, you communicate this way. This is informal, every day, right? Things that you need to get done every day. Other things to think about is structure and strategy. If you have an arts organization with a growth strategy, then it makes sense that you would be adding more staff in marketing, website support, support for increased social media interaction, and sales staff. So with more people comes the need for more supervision, monitoring, reporting, and overall communication. With the marketing and sales growth strategy comes enhanced technology to support research, sales tracking, and enhanced blah, 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 right? So you want to think about, like, what's the maximum number of people somebody should supervise before they think they can't supervise anymore. In emergency management, they call it span of control, and they say 5 people. So if you're a supervisor, you should only supervise up to 5 people. But you have to decide what that number is for your organization, and you want to make sure that you stick to that, right? So you don't want people who are managing, 27 people. It's hard to do that. It's hard to do that. Maybe you need some sub-managers. Maybe you need to add middle management, because you can have lots of levels of middle management. So in small arts organizations, often understaffed and typically assign staff double or triple job responsibilities. They need to train employees to be capable of coordinating workflow themselves with little or no supervision. And arts organizations often function with a matrix structure, which means that everything's connected, right? Everything's connected in weird ways. Because arts organizations often are project or event driven, when it comes to programming, a matrix organizational design intentionally applies high degrees of horizontal and vertical coordination to facilitate work that regularly occurs on multiple projects, cutting across departments or functional areas. So positions employing managers titled operations director or production manager director are in effect project managers who coordinate the work of multiple managers. So what that means is, this is the season of shows, right? So this director works with all of these people who work with all of these people. This is supervisory, right? Vertical hierarchy of departments and traditional organizational structure, and the horizontal working and communication relationships on each production as needed. So something that you guys, I was reading your discussion, something somebody brought up is that the production manager, stage manager, the director, the choreographer, these are all arts managers, right? Arts managers aren't just the directors. They're not just the people who run the organization. If you are overseeing any staff in any way, you're a manager. If you're in charge of anything, even if it's not staff, you're a manager, right? You have to manage that. So managers are at all of these levels, right? This guest director is a manager. This technical director is a manager, right? All of these people are managers, all right? So this is the matrix design. This is a really great way to think about an organization that is really event-driven or program-driven. Okay, so other key concepts in organizational design, span of control, right? I just talked about that. 8 to 10 direct reports per manager is often a reasonable limit for one person to effectively juggle. Emergency management says 6 because it's like an emergency situation and there's a lot going on, right? There's a lot of stress. But in a regular time, 8 to 10 is fine. Variables that alter this ratio include the similarity of the work being done, complexity of tasks, physical distance, and the amount of coordination required with other managers. So, for example, in my job, I do a lot of coordination with other managers. I do a lot of trying to help them do their jobs, right? So I'm managing up and across. So I don't have a lot of room to manage down. So I only have like 1.5 direct reports, but I do manage up the organizational structure and across the organizational structure. So we would want to make sure that my span of control is relatively small. Delegation. So the assumption underlying delegation is that you are capable of assigning work to others, and you can give them the latitude to complete tasks without micromanaging them. Delegation takes time and patience. So you just gotta trust the people that you work for, right? You have to trust them. And some managers are better at that than others. Some are better at that than others. The hardest thing about being a manager is realizing that your employees are going to get the job done in a way that is completely different than the way that you were going to get the job done. And it will be fine. Okay, centralization versus decentralization. So depending on the type of organization and the work being done, depending on what kind of org it is, control and authority may be concentrated or widely dispersed. In an arts organization, decision-making by functional area is common, marketing, production. However, decisions such as the season of shows or exhibits is typically highly centralized. So what that means is, like, where are the decisions made? In an arts organization, the people that run the North America part of the museum are often making decisions themselves. So that's decentralizing decision, right? And control and authority. But there's like an artistic director or an executive director who's making wide-ranging decisions for the organization. Okay, so corporate culture. The social systems that develop in organizations are based on shared values, beliefs, myths, rituals, and language as expressed through the behavior of the leadership and employees. I want to say this again, the behavior of the leadership and the employees. Behavior. So the way you behave, right? The things you value, the beliefs you have, the language you use as a manager will be reflected in your employees and will be reflected in your peers. What you see, hear, and feel as you interact with the organization, that's culture through artifacts, right? This can include the way people dress, the way the office is laid out. Do you have open doors, common areas, natural versus light, artificial light? Is it loud when you come in? Is it quiet? Is there music playing? Is there laughter? Do people wear headphones? This is like these are the senses. These are the senses. Then there's culture through espoused values. So the mission and the vision, how are they operationalized? How do they apply to what you do every day? What are the values expressed through your programming? Do the values expressed through your programming match the values that you've created? Activities connecting to community and stakeholders, right? What are those? And publish statements and declarations on the website. So what are you saying out loud about your values, not just in words, but in action? She's very demanding today. One second. Yes, I hear you. All right, and then the last thing is culture through shared tacit assumptions, right? These are shared and often unspoken assumptions about the way people work in the organization. This can include things like work hard, play hard, or working until the job is done, or other elements such as assumptions about the value of the arts, art for art's sake. So this can be things like, while it's said in your policies that your organization is open from 9 to 5, it may be that people leave exactly at 9 o'clock or get there exactly at 9 o'clock and leave exactly at 5 o'clock, or there may be some flexibility in that. You don't know, right? This is culture through shared tacit assumptions, right? These are the things that aren't written down, but that everybody just knows, right? You know not to talk to so-and-so about such and such, right? You know that we know in our organization that if we really want to get something done, we should talk to the executive office manager, because he's really the person to get things done. A lot of times the executive assistant of the CEO is the person that really gets things done in an organization. It might be the gatekeeper. That's tacit assumptions, right? Let me know if that makes sense. That's it. That's the whole thing. We made it through. Good job, guys. So informal culture can be really damaging. It can be really hard to get over in an organization. And so as a manager, you want to make sure that you have a handle on that. You don't want people running around doing things without your knowledge. Culture is really important. Nowadays, flexibility is important to people, and making sure that they're enjoying their work. A lot of people joke about forced fun, right? In offices where it's like, oh, we have to have this stupid birthday party, or we have to have, you know, all sorts of weird stuff. We're having a Christmas party, or we're doing a chili cook-off. My husband's work does a lot of forced fun, but they also really like each other, right? That's part of the culture of the organization. So you want to make sure that you're getting a handle on what the culture is. And when you're shifting culture, it's hard, right? Culture is so important right now. Here's an example of culture of an organization. Let me pull this up for you. Give me 1 second. So this is Slack. This is an informal communication tool that we use in my office. And one of the channels that we have in our office is pets, right? So this is just something that's part of the culture of our office, is that everybody has pets and we love them and we post about them all the time. This chat has existed for, I believe, a week. No, 2 weeks. And look at all these pictures we've already gotten. It's so, this is the cat in my lap. Oh, she's ridiculous. I can't. So this is part of our culture, right? It's how important this is. It's informal, but it makes us feel happier, and it gives us a place to bond as a community. So that's a good culture thing. Make sure you understand, oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, make sure you understand how to make an organizational chart. You'll have to do it for your imaginary organization. That's part of your next assignment. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Be thinking as you are creating your organization about what that organizational chart might look like. That will inform the kind of programming that you decide to do. Those are all really important things to think about, right? I hope you all have a wonderful week. I'll be traveling all week, so I may be out of pocket. But please contact me if you need anything, and I will be back. I guess we'll have our live lecture on the, lost my mouse. There. The 2nd of October. So we'll do a live lecture on the 2nd of October. Great. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good week. Contact me if you need anything.